Hey everybody, this is SD for Gaming Starts here. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Xbox 360 version of Battlefield 3. Now all of the versions are basically the same, and yes, I get that the online gameplay is a little bit different for the PC version than the Xbox 360. Okay, maybe quite a bit different. But this isn't a review for the online gameplay because I got annoyed enough with it during the beta with all the glitches that after this I'm going back to Forza 4 and unfortunately more World of Warcraft. By the way, this review contains a few spoilers, so if you aren't into that, keep listening anyway so you can cry when I ruin the ending for you. Battlefield 3 starts you out with a foreshadowing event by jumping on a hijacked train trying to stop terrorists from doing what terrorists do. Now after that, the game goes into this whole, hey, this has already happened and I'm stuck in this room with a bald guy that sounds like Dr. Phil and some other asshole trying to get information out of me. Now I immediately thought of Black Ops, although in Black Ops you were tied down to a chair and had Freddy Krueger talking to you through a pane of glass. Now this switching back and forth, it did help me get into the game as I played through it, but every time I'd really start getting immersed, I'd be rudely pulled right back out with frame rate issues, and the whole problem where I'd be shooting an enemy straight in the face, but it wouldn't even hit him due to some random invisible wall that apparently existed. Now it brought me back to when I played the online beta here just recently, and my bullets wouldn't even go through bushes at some points. Now I can understand this being a problem if this was in the days of PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64, but it isn't. It's like the developers went out celebrating during lunch for having the best graphics engine and forgot to come back and finish the second half of their board meeting. Now, unfortunately for them, they missed that mark too because as previously mentioned, there were graphical glitches or frame rate issues randomly throughout the whole game. Now, this was also accompanied by sound randomly cutting in and out unrealistically with a few voiceovers not lining up with the guy talking. And the game's controls were a bit sketchy as well, and at certain points the game would vocally tell you to do something, but it'd never really tell you what button to hit whenever it asked you to do something in most cases. And even when it did, it seemed a bit off. A perfect example of this is at one point during the night shift level, when I had to sneak up behind an enemy and stab him with my knife, it tells me in plain English to silently take him out by sneaking up behind him and pulling the right trigger. Now, that sounds easy enough, right? Well, wrong. I approach the enemy, hit the right trigger, and fall over dead. Alright, so I figure I just hit the wrong button, so I let it load and do it again. Same thing. Alright, I said. I'm going to make sure I'm not all of a sudden dyslexic or retarded and make sure I'm pushing what was supposedly the right trigger on my controller. And I sneak up behind Muhammad again, and this time I don't even push anything and I fall over dead. Alright, so at this point I just decide that even the guy who was playing realized how unpolished he was and just wanted it to end. Now I understand that this sounds exaggerated, but unfortunately it isn't. And most people that play through the game will die to these types of things throughout the campaign. Even opening doors was a pain in the ass. You had to be the perfect distance away and be looking at it just right to make it open. Also, as a side note on control issues, even though it may have been more user error, on one part of the game I died 5 times when you were supposed to stay prone before taking out some asshole sniper shooting at you from a hotel, but my guy would just accidentally stand up while crawling and take one to the face because in most games I played, clicking the right trigger has either been melee or zoom. Now this brings the question, why not have a common control scheme, or better yet, allow us to customize our buttons in a way much like PC games allow you to? Now, I get that most people will just say, adapt to the control scheme, SD, and you suck. No, I don't want to adapt. I want options to be able to set up buttons how I want to push them. The game itself shoves linearity down your throat to the point that if you walk slightly off the path during anything, it will either give you a countdown, give you a mission failed, or just have you fall over dead and make you reload from the last checkpoint. There were some parts that I really enjoyed during the game, like when I got to ride in the jet, but even that felt really linear. The chase scene at the end was great as well, but the game sort of just abruptly ended after that with some Russian guy talking. And personally, my favorite part, where I got the best laugh, was when I hit the wrong button while a rat was attacking my fingers before alerting a guard and being shot then dying, but not before giving the rat the finger. As for renaming, one thing that was original about the game and I did like was the blinding effect with the flashlight and the laser. All in all, Battlefield 3 had a lot going for it, but I think in quite a few areas it missed its mark. Now, I'm not saying it's a terrible game, because I did enjoy the storyline, but it lacks originality in some parts, and it's about as polished as a freshly laid turd.